Hey, Aegis Zeus, and I wanted to talk about a little tips for helping with your bow and such, and maybe some suggestions. First thing is, I wanted to tell you that you should get some bow wax string because I noticed in your video with your bow is your string and your cable strings are kind of fraying. They get like a hairy look, like they're like hairy, like yeah, you get what I mean. Um, if that gets too bad, the string may break, and you may have huge issues with your bow going and snapping before while you're trying to pull it or such. So just get some bow wax string, and every like month or so, rub it on. It'll keep the string nice and tight, and it won't fray as much, and it'll make your strings last a lot longer. Another thing is you probably want to do in the near future is get rid of that whisker biscuit because those things have a tendency to destroy fletchings on arrows, and they're not quiet. So if you want to go hunting, you're gonna want to be silent. What I would suggest is getting a drop away arrow rest. What that does is basically like what this is. Let me see if I can get my bow to look. It basically, when you pull back, it goes boop, and it pops up. And then when you release, it goes boop, and disappears. Doop, 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 doop. And you can hook it from either here, here on one of the cable strings, or hook it onto the cable rod puller. So when you pull back, the rod goes back too, and then when you release, it goes forward and it drops this rest. What this does is there's no contact whatsoever with the fletchings, and when it drops down, it just flies nice and smooth. There's no contact with the riser, the rest, anything. It just flies on past. And I don't know if you noticed, but if you do look on slow motion videos and such forth, if you do have arrows that are spined correctly, they will tend to wobble slightly when they're fired. So having a whisker biscuit, that wobble is going to be an issue because it's trying to wobble through all those whiskers as it's flying past. But with this, it's not going to have a problem because there's not going to be any type of issue from it contacting with anything. And the fletchings, you can have them no matter what way you want. You can have them down, you can have them that way, you can have them this way, you can have them up, you can have them even pointing that, like that way or that way. You get what I mean? It's just a lot much more smoother. Also, do your research on your state regulations and laws, because some laws require you to have a bow set at 40 or 45 pounds at the minimum poundage ability to hunt big game, aka deer, buck, such forth. So yeah, if you're trying to go hunting, those type of things, and you have it set to 30 pounds, they're probably going to say you can't go hunting because this bow needs to be set at a higher poundage. And what I also want to tell about is when you pull the bow back, if you notice yourself going like this, like trying to pull so fast up to the part where it activates the let off, then you need to decrease your poundage because you shouldn't be having to force pull yourself all the way to let off so you can feel comfortable. If you can't pull your bow like this, nice and smoothly, then yeah, you need to decrease your poundage, and then practice like that. Also works the same way for uh, releasing yourself. If you're showing off your bow and such forth, and you can't smoothly draw back, and you go like this, then again you need to drop your poundage down. Also, your wrist trigger thingamajig, I would recommend getting a thumb trigger. This also will help you be able to pull a lot more poundage, because with your wrists, you're not able to pull that much poundage because your the whole power of your arm and such forth is in your hand. So when you want to punch somebody, all that power goes into the knuckles in your hand. It just goes wham. But your wrist, you can't do that with your wrist. Your wrist. So when you try and pull with your wrist, you're not getting that full power of your hand. So if you use a thumb release or your fingers, obviously, you're going to be able to pull much more heavier poundage with your bow. Probably about 10 to 15 more pounds. So you probably want to look into trying a thumb release and seeing if that will help you be able to pull much more power onto your bow. Heck, you maybe even skip to 60 pounds and be like, yeah, I can pull now. This is amazing. But yeah. The other thing is, with most bow shooters, you're going to have to, in the future, I don't say now, but in the future, look into getting some dampeners for your bow. String dampeners, and, well, stabilizer is an option. You don't really need one if you don't want to. But pretty much dampeners on your, right here, so they can quiet down your bow. And then probably some string dampeners. That way when you fire, it doesn't go boom. It just goes pss, pss, pss. Sounds a lot more silent. And like I said, drop away arrow rests make it a lot more silent too. And then a cable dampener, they do sell those. You'll have to remove the thingamajig right here and then put it on, put it back on, boom. But yeah. One other thing I have also gotten my arrows too. You can probably buy these later on. I find these on Amazon. They're about like 15 bucks, free shipping, all that good stuff for a set of 12. But these are called Acunox. And what these are is pretty much like a drop away arrow rest, just like my thing. You hook them on to the arrow, the string. They click, and they have technically a free glide sort of thing, depending on your string strand thickness. Mine's probably only 16 strands, so it sort of wobbles like that. But I pretty much prevent it by doing one finger on top, 2 fingers on the bottom, remove my finger, and then release. But what this does is you pull back, and then as you release, it pushes the string inside the nocking area, and there's a little hatch when you it's closed, so when you click it onto the string, it sits there closed in position, but you can push that easily out as any common other knock point. But when it releases, it pushes on the little backing of the knock and it opens the door. And so when the string gets to the part where it releases the arrow, it basically just flies on out. There's no friction, no contact. It doesn't make this huge clicking sound or anything like that. It just stays open, flies out, and boom. A lot more quieter and much more accurate with your arrows. And I have two different arrows for this bow that I have at max poundage. I have these Zombie Apocalypse Blood Spots from Muddy Outdoors. I put the Acronox on both. And then these arrows with the overfletchings are Allen Company 29-inch camo arrows with nap quick fletches. And these they're spined for, the Allen Company have spines for 45 to 70 pounds. And the Zombie Apocalypse are spined for probably like 15 to 55. It only says up to 55. It doesn't really say 15 or such. But yeah. Also, that's another thing to get into considering for your arrows is, I know you have a lot of arrows. You definitely showed them twice. But you want to do your research on the arrows. Because spine is what basically allows the arrows to flex and bend while in flight. This makes it so it corrects itself while in flight as it flies. If your arrow is too stiff, aka it's not within the poundage range of your bow, like 45 pounds to like 50 pounds or such forth, and you're not using that type of arrow such, it won't flex, and that means the arrow will just go and fly off to a distance. So if you accidentally shoot sideways, the arrow will just keep on going that distance. It won't recorrect itself and go to the way you're actually shooting. That gets into the term of torquing your string. Like if you use fingers and such forth and you torque your string slightly to the left or such forth and you don't have a spine correct arrow, it will just go woo and drift off. So make sure to have your arrows spined correctly to the poundage that you're going to shoot, and don't over poundage the arrows. If you over poundage the arrows, if you look around YouTube and such forth, you can find people had their arrows go into their holding arm because their arrows exploded on release. So technically they have half of their hand with an arrow inside of it because they shot a very low poundage spined arrow on a very high poundage bow. So yeah. Hope this helps, and if you need any more information, just comment back and I'll try and help you out with that. But anyways, see you later, and hopefully next time you go hunting and such forth, this will definitely help you out. Peace out. Obviously, oh, my friggin' video is still going. I'm trying to close my Wii U.